So, yesterday I did a video on who is allowed to be sick. And then I realized I've got to do the companion video who's allowed to be healthy. Because not every abuser is attempting to keep someone from being sick and getting the care they need. Sometimes they push a victim into being sick or thinking they're sick so that the abuser can be the recipient of attention and feel significant, right? Maybe a Munchausen's by proxy situation. Or you could have a neglectful abuser that doesn't think you deserve to be healthy and doesn't make sure that you get the care you need. You could have an abuser who's an infantilizing abuser who doesn't think you can do anything. And so they may prevent you from going out and doing, healthy person things and thriving. And so often you do see this in a parent-child dynamic. But you can see this in a romantic relationship as well. Essentially, the through line here is that you have someone who's decided who you are at you and is enforcing that through control or coercion. And they're doing it for their own benefit at your expense, right? So, like, just a refresh. If you are a victim and you're reading a resource or you're watching a video and it doesn't apply to you, that doesn't mean you're not a victim of abuse. It could just be maybe the abuse hasn't escalated to that point yet, or it could be that you are experiencing a different variation but of the same ingredients. So the ingredients are their control, they're the belief that they get to decide at another person. One of the core elements that you see in abuse, I actually learned from Patricia Evans, and she writes a lot about like verbal and emotional abuse. She's also the one who came up with the Teddy check, which we'll do that in another video. But she basically talked about verbal abuse. How'd you put it? Like talking about how defining someone is abusive. Okay, generally, verbal abuse defines people, telling them what they are, what they think, their motives, and so forth. And so, essentially, when someone is defining you to yourself, they're telling you who you are, they're telling you what your feelings are, they're telling you what you're capable of. And so, you might get this kind of abuser who either sabotaging your ability to be healthy, maybe they're not allowing you to access medication or doctors, or they're telling you you're not healthy and that you're more fragile than you are. And so it's important, like, if you have those questions, getting to a neutral third party, like a medical provider, to find that information out for yourself because you get to investigate that. You are the focus of that particular conclusion. So someone else doesn't necessarily get to do that at you. Now, that caveat, as always, if you're a healthy parent, you are going to make those conclusions and do them appropriately. But the unhealthy parent is misdoing this process. Normal parents are doing it for their child's benefit, not their own personal emotional gratification or to punish a child. So you're, as always, abusers, they hijack healthy relationship things and they misuse it and weaponize it against the victim. So I don't know, I feel like many people have seen the video. There was this lady who was running, I don't know, marathon, half marathon, one of those things. And she's almost to the finish line. And the dad positions the kids right before the finish line and then has them go run to her before she gets to the finish line. And that would then impede her ability to get to the finish. Like, you look like an asshole. And then, but if you stop, you have a lower score and you're not running as fast. And so she's trying to accomplish this very health driven, accomplishment driven activity. And he is actively sabotaging it. So it could be something like that. Anyway, you want to be looking at, like, in this relationship dynamic, do I get to be a person? Or do I have to be allowed to do anything? Who's the allower, right? Is this even how another adult should treat an adult? Because if you're not a child who's underneath the authority and protection of an adult, then other adults don't get to allow you anything. You're grown. You are legally responsible for yourself. Therefore, you are grown and you get to make decisions for yourself. And maybe sometimes those decisions aren't like super optimal. As long as you're not hurting yourself or others, we get to kind of make those mistakes, and I'm saying this very gently because obviously caveats all day on this, but you get to be a person. You get to decide what's for you. And really, if you think about it, even if the specific iteration of abuse changes, the pattern, that pattern of control and coercion, it stays, the same. So when you're looking at resources, just think about, is this pattern of control present in my life? Is this pattern of coercion present in my life? Do I get to say no to things? Do I get to say yes to things? Do I get to be successful, or do I get to sometimes be tired? Do I get to be unsuccessful? At the end of the day, you are the person. You are the person who should be living your life and making decisions for yourself, because you are the person who has to deal with the consequences of all of those decisions. So you are empowered, you are entitled, and no one else is entitled to do that at you. Anyway, I hope this makes sense, and I'll talk to you next time.